Welcome to another episode of the Australian Muscle Podcast. This episode is brought to you by Australian Muscle and Australian Muscle the Gym. Check us out online and on all social media platforms. In this week's episode, I get to chat with Janelle McLean. Janelle is a pioneer in female bodybuilding in South Australia. Imagine being a fresh-faced teenager and wanting to be big and veiny. This was Janelle in 1982, a time when gyms were only for men and women were training only 2 days a week, a time when men and women had even separate training days. Janelle persevered and became one of South Australia's most successful figure competitors, winning multiple overall titles, national titles, and placing top 5 in the world. Along the way, Janelle faced many formidable competitors, but none more so than the Big C. But she beat that too and made it back on stage. Still training, judging, and mentoring, Janelle has not ruled out one more appearance on stage. This is an inspirational story by one strong woman who I'm proud to call a friend. I hope you enjoy this podcast as much as I enjoyed recording it. All right, we're chatting here with Janelle.
Hi, Kim.
Hi, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Is everything all right?
Yeah, really good, thank you.
Really good?
Mm-hmm.
I've always wanted to, when I started podcasts, you were one of the first people on my list.
Oh.
I sort of thought, because the podcast was always going to be that I'm going to focus on South Australian people.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm definitely South Australian.
That's right. And when I made up a temporary list of people I'd love to chat with, I always on there, Janelle McLean would be a good chat,
I do like a chat.
You do like a chat, exactly right. So, let's get right into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I just turned 54 and for all of my adult life I've been training, and in that time I've worked, trained, competed, just enjoyed life, I think.
Yeah.
It's always been a balance. I've enjoyed every 54 years of my life, so
yeah.
And love what I do.
Excellent. You've been around the scenes for a long time. We've most probably been training around the same time. How long have you? When did you start training? So you're 54 now.
54, yes.
Yeah. So
yes.
how old were you when you started training?
18.
All right. No, you most probably beat me.
Because
we're about the same age.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I was in my 20s when I started training. Yeah.
I got my first gym membership in January 1983.
Yeah.
And my first experience of going to a gym was in late 1982. So I was 18 and I went with a couple of boys that I used to hang out with after we'd left school. We were going to see a band and they wanted to go to a gym to pump up their arms to help them pick up chicks. And
that's why I started training.
Well, there you go.
Everyone, I think all guys lie why they started training. I started training because I was just a skinny guy and I thought I need to put on some weight if I'm going to get a woman.
Absolutely, and that's what these guys did.
That's
so
right.
we went to, it was easier for me to go to the gym with them than to, be picked up after and whatever. So we went to the one on Paynham Road there. I can't remember what it used to be called. But anyhow, it's now, I think, A Good Life or something.
Oh, that was Kerry O'Brien.
Kerry O'Brien, that's it. Yes,
Yeah.
Kerry O'Brien's Fitness Centre.
Yep.
So that's where we went. And they proceeded to do barbell curls for about an hour. Yeah. And I explored the gym and I played with dumbbells, I played with machines and literally fell in love with it. Yeah. And I remember reaching down and picking up a dumbbell and all the veins stood up in my hand and up my arm and I went, oh, that looks amazing.
Yeah.
And from that moment on, I wanted to have muscles and be veiny.
Yeah. So you didn't go to the gym because you were influenced by someone? Yeah, like I want to be a bodybuilder?
No.
That didn't
I
cross your
didn't
mind?
even know that there was such a sport.
Yeah.
Did not know that there was anything. This was my first ever experience of a gym, of weights, and which was a bit bizarre because I remember the instructor there. Because if
So
you
what year are we talking about?
1982. This
82.
was 1982. So Kerry O'Brien's Fitness Centre.
Yeah.
It was all chrome, so I think it was a little bit more upmarket than your normal gym, and it was all. And I remember this instructor because he was trying to show me, because I had no idea, and I remember him saying, "You do not crash the weights down because you'll crack the chrome." And I thought, it's a gym, isn't that what's supposed to happen? But no previous experience, no knowledge whatsoever, and I just fell in love with that feeling of that training.
Yeah.
Picking up, and those weights I would have been picking up would have been tiny, but I loved that feel of, and I thought this would be great to get strong. And so, and those guys there, I don't think they ever went to a gym after. They couldn't move their arms for days because they were stuck in that position.
That's right.
Don't think it helped them pick up chicks either.
Yeah.
But, from that moment on, my life was changed. I sought out to find a gym close to where I lived, and wanted to join.
So back in those days, because I can remember when I was training, gyms weren't 24 hour.
Oh no.
And they generally closed at, I don't know, 8 o'clock.
8
or
o'clock,
something.
yeah. If you were lucky, 9.
That's right. And they had ladies and men's days.
Yes.
So that was back then as well.
Yes. The first gym I joined, I was a foundation member. It's where Peter Kittle is now. It was a gym there. It used to be a truck super yard, and then it became the Desert Oasis.
Yes,
it was a gym.
yes.
And it was ahead of its time. It actually had
I never
massive
went there.
gym.
I can remember the gym. Though. Yeah,
massive gym. It had a nightclub there.
Yes.
It had spa. It had plunge pools. It had a cafe. So it was really ahead of its time. But of course, it didn't take off. I was a foundation member. I was number 42, and I'd go there, come and go as you please throughout the day. But then when it didn't last 12 months, I joined up at Pro Fitness on Stanwell Road, and that's where I come across men's nights and ladies' nights, which was really restricting because ladies' nights only had like Tuesdays and Thursdays, and by this stage, I was following a 3-day on, 1 day off program.
So where'd you get your program from?
Books.
Book.
Those things are paper and.
That's right. Yeah. Back then, no internet.
There was no
nothing.
internet.
Yeah, I was the same. I got all my programs from Muscle and Fitness magazine.
Yes, Muscle and Fitness, Flex, and I'd go to Fitness Warehouse and buy books.
And these people who are listening, Muscle and Fitness and Flex were magazines.
Yes, they were. Yeah. I've still got all of my copies.
Yeah, and all of those magazines have now gone. They're not around anymore.
No. And that you would adapt those things. You'd see that program and you'd go, yep, I'll go with that.
The other thing back in those days was that there used to be always a guy on the floor, a gym instructor.
Yes.
The gym I was at had a guy, and he had like gym instructor on the back. And they'd help you spot.
That's
or
it.
You talk to them, and they do write you up a program for free.
For free. It was all included in your...
Right.
When I went to Desert Oasis, you actually had a fitness assessment. So you joined and you got a fitness assessment, and you had to ride the bike, take your breaths, and then they put you through a program. And I remember him asking me what is it I wanted out of my gym membership, and I said, I want to be big and muscly and veiny. And he sort of just went, huh? As an 18-year-old girl, I think I was considered strange to be doing that. So, and that was my goal, to be as
So
big
how
as
did you
possible.
get past this 2 days a week for only women?
Well, I had to sneak in. Because you know how aerobics was huge.
Yes.
The leg warmers, the tights, the elastic belts.
Big hair.
Yep. Oh, yeah, well, I had that. I fitted in with that. So what I used to do at Pro Fitness at that stage, you had a passageway, and then there was a door to go into the gym, or the ladies turned left to go to the aerobics room.
Yeah.
So I would go into the gym at the reception desk, say I was doing a class, and then I would, instead of turning left, I'd go straight.
Yeah.
And I'd sneak in. And most of the blokes knew me, so they didn't fuss too much. I mean, I wasn't using the same weights as them.
That's right.
If I had been using, the same weights, I'm sure they would have gone, but, but, they were pretty good. And they could see that I was keen, and committed. So if I was in there fluffing about and just, being a beach bunny in there, I'm sure they would have complained. But I think even the instructor at the door used to turn a blind eye. So.
Yeah.
But, a man doing that on ladies' night, that would never have been allowed.
No, that's right. And I can remember, it was, so you were talking 82?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I started training most probably about 85. So it was still ladies and
went for a long time.
And I can remember, we had I think Monday, Wednesday and Friday, and ladies had Tuesday and Thursday, and I think Saturday was a mixed day, and Sunday the gym was closed because you don't train on Sunday.
Oh, and if it did open, it would only be 2 hours.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
9 till 11 or something stupid.
And we used to avoid Saturdays because I want to go train with the ladies. And then they finally went mixed all the time, and it was we're all going, this is weird. There's ladies in here.
Yeah,
yeah,
yes.
And you can imagine, hormonal.
Okay.
All of a sudden,
a lot of testosterone in the room.
That's right.
And suddenly, you've got the elastic tights and
that's right.
and those leotards and things, because you used to coordinate to go to the gym.
That's right.
You'd have your little leotards and your tights and your headbands and,
That's right.
But I do remember going to Pro Fitness and they had one of those weight things that you stood in and shook. That
the vibration.
Yeah. And they still had one of those in there, obviously for ladies' nights.
Yeah.
And I couldn't, in my mind, figure out what on earth that was doing. So I avoided that one like a plague. But they were still around in the days that I started training. So
you wanted to get big and muscly.
Much to my family's disgust.
Yeah. So did you train like the guys?
Yes,
if
absolutely.
you saw the guys, you said these guys are big, training this way, so you trained like the guys?
I did. I always trained with the intention of building muscle, and that was that progressive load, because, I followed all the Weeder principles.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So, because they weren't any good if they didn't have Weeder in front of them.
Exactly right.
But that progressive overload was the way to do it, it was that continually...
Try to get stronger.
Getting stronger.
Yeah.
What I didn't grasp was the importance of nutrition.
Yes.
So I still ate like a normal person.
Yeah.
So I still ate my Cocoa Pops and crumpets for breakfast.
Yeah, I was the same. And back then, nutrition really wasn't discussed too much. I mean, I can remember when I went to the gym, the guy just said, I just drink lots of milk and drink lots of eggs.
Yes.
Eat lots of eggs,
Yes.
And if you listen to, I'm listening to podcasts now called Bodybuilding Legends Show, and they interview all the old-time bodybuilders, and that's all they did.
Yes.
They said we just drank 5 gallons of milk a day and ate 36 eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So there wasn't that emphasis on the nutrition, and there wasn't that much information either. So your magazines tended to go solely on workouts or contest results or profiles on a person, not the diet side of things. It really wasn't. And back in those days, from people competing, they just did more cardio and ate less. It was simple.
Yeah.
And some of the most shredded people competed those days that kept their muscle.
Well, my first show was in 87. And I really, honestly don't think I replicated the condition of that show ever in the rest of my bodybuilding comps, because all I did was not eat as much.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think that's a sad thing these days, though. It's complicated.
They've made it complicated.
And
what's made it
not
complicated
better.
is because the proliferation of coaches. So they think they have to do something weird and complicated so that they look important and know what they're talking about.
And that they seem that they're more knowledgeable than you.
Yeah.
And basically bamboozle you with all of this scientific stuff, which really it's not. It's just you got on the exercise bike and pedalled and ate less.
That's right.
And that was it, you know. And you didn't even worry about, you know, if it was carbs or...
No, because I can remember in my first prep, I was making like buckwheat pancakes as
Yeah.
my last meal before I went to bed.
Yes, buckwheat
Yeah.
pancakes were
Because
a big thing back then.
Yeah, because some guy did tell me, don't have normal pancakes because they got lots of sugar. We have this buckwheat. So I went searching for like buckwheat. But they were quite delicious.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
They were.
So
yeah.
you had the buckwheat
I had the
pancakes
buckwheat
too.
pancakes as well.
That's right.
Yep. And you'd make cakes, but not put sugar in. Because we thought sugar was that, but we'd fill it with flour and,
That's right.
you know,
Exactly
and you'd
right.
go, well, that was sustainable, you
Yeah.
know, that hit the edge.
Now it's like carbs are the demon, and I think all I ate was carbs.
Yeah.
Threw in a few eggs every now and then and some steaks.
Yeah, and a bit of tuna in a tin.
That's right. Exactly.
That was it.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
All right, so you're doing all this training, you're training like a bloke to get big
Yes,
as possible
yes.
and ripped and veiny.
Yep.
Before I move on, there's something you said, much to the chagrin of your friends
Family.
and
Yeah,
family.
yes. My, because I was still living at home
Yeah.
then, and my mum was just, you know, she's like, why can't you do like what girls do?
Yeah.
You know, why can't you play netball or do aerobics?
Well, my parents were the same, and my mum said, "Are you gay?" Because she
Yeah.
associated big muscly
Yes.
guys in tiny little shorts and trunks. It's a gay thing.
And you can see why.
Yeah.
You know, you can see why. But no, I was never asked if I was gay.
Yeah.
I was just, why did I have to be different?
Yeah,
You know, why can't you just do what girls do?
yeah,
And none of my friends at that age, you know, you just finished school, high school, started working. None of my friends even sort of went on to continuing sports either. You know, once they left school age sports, they didn't go on.
yeah,
You know, so I was really the only one that did some sort of exercise at
Yeah.
all.
yeah,
And you know, at 18, your body's held together nicely. You know, so you those thoughts don't come into your mind of, you know, I want to look. I suppose I don't know. I wasn't like normal girls. You know, I've got to fit into these shorts. You know, so my booty looks good.
Yeah.
I just, you know, it wasn't that fact. It was that feeling of, you know, just being strong and being in control and yeah, and I think not being the same as everyone else.
yeah. So your parents accepted it?
They did eventually. They had to because I wasn't going to change.
That's
so
right.
you know, yeah, I was not going to be no fancy or coordinated and elegant
Yeah.
girl. I was going to be the tomboy, as my
Yeah.
mum called me. So yeah.
Excellent. So how did the bodybuilding then come into play?
Right.
What happened there?
I can tell you that. I can tell you that exact moment. Remember on Saturdays you used to have Wide World of Sports?
Yes.
Right, and that was, you had your cartoons in the morning,
Yeah.
Saturday morning cartoons. I'm still a cartoon lover. I used to love my cartoons, but then the sports show would start.
Yeah.
And the music came on, and then they showed you the intro of,
What's going
What's
to be on?
gonna be on.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
and they showed a clip of Corey Everson at a Miss Olympia. And
yeah,
I went,
because they used to show
Show,
the
yeah.
Miss Olympia and the Mr.
Yeah.
Olympia contest
and I went,
on Channel 9.
Channel 9, Wide
Yeah,
World of Sports, and I
that's
went,
right.
hello? Press my play and record.
On
Put the
your
VHS in.
video cassette
Yes,
recorder.
my VHS, press the play and record. And they showed about 6 routines of these big, muscular women and veins and shoulders and just looked absolutely amazing. And I rang Channel 9 and I said, I need to know more about this.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And they went, oh, well, we can't help you, but we can tell you there's a place that does do videos and put me onto Fitness Warehouse.
Yep.
And I rang and spoke to Wayne Galash.
Oh,
And
right.
therein lies another relationship that grew because of the single love of bodybuilding.
Yep.
And they introduced me into the world of bodybuilding. And so I came down
So
to...
if you're listening to this podcast, people, go through in your episodes and you'll find my interview with Wayne Galash.
I didn't realise you'd done Wayne. I'll have to listen to that.
Oh, you haven't listened to that?
No, the last one I listened to was Ben, I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
no, I did Wayne. Anyway,
Okay. Yes, sorry.
So you went
Yes.
to Fitness
So
Warehouse?
I rang Fitness Warehouse. He had video, VHS, of the Miss Olympia, and we organised for me to come out and pick it up on Saturday morning. And there I was, the whole world opened up. There was magazines, books, powders.
Well, Fitness Warehouse used to be every second week I'd go to Fitness Warehouse because he would be the only place that would sell Muscle Mag.
Rob Kennedy's,
Muscle Mag. So you'd know exactly when it's released, so you'd go to Fitness Warehouse, but then you'd look through all the myriad of videos and powders.
Absolutely, it was just the best place in the world. If he had a little cafe in there, you would have just hung out there, like friends situation, you know. It was amazing. And he told me about SABA, they run shows.
Yeah, which was the South Australian Bodybuilding Association.
Yes. Yeah. And so I went, well, I have to check this out. And so I went to my first competition in September 1984.
Yeah.
And so Fitness Warehouse was, you know, that was the gospel. You know, you went there and I used to ring Wayne probably once a week and we'd discuss things. So that's when I discovered that there was such a sport, because I didn't know that. Then when I was at Pro Fitness, by this time, you know, I'd gone from Desert Oasis to Pro Fitness, and one of the instructors there was competing for the first time, and she was a female. Ooh. The thing was, there were female competitors, not a lot of them, but most of them tended to be older. So you didn't have 18-year-olds like me going to the gym. They were generally older women, sort of maybe late 20s, early 30s, even into the 40s and 50s. So that then it just expanded my world. I was like, this is amazing. Not only have I got an avenue now to do what I like doing, and that's trying to get big, there's a place that you can actually watch people that have gone through that journey. Yeah.
So that first show, you thought, I want to be on stage?
Absolutely. The first show, I just sat there gobsmacked. It was like, this is amazing. It was entertainment too. Yeah. It was.
And bodybuilding back in those days was totally different. It was, there was only a few divisions. And
you probably had about 6 divisions, 6 or 8 tops.
All up with the men and the women.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So back then there was just, was it called figure then? Or
no, it was just women.
Just women. Bodybuilding, yeah.
And you had a novice and an open. That's it. Or even just just women. Sometimes you didn't have 2 divisions. You just had 1 division of women. Or you'd have the open and the over 35s. Yeah. That was about it.
Yes.
Over 35s was a big division there. You had someone called Anna Allwood who dominated the scene in the early 80s. So, and she was I
remember Anna.
Yeah, she was quite, and she was also well known outside of bodybuilding because she was a singer, a local singer.
I didn't know that about her.
Yeah. So she actually had, you know, she was quite diverse. Yeah. And so you had, it was 2 separate shows then. So you had your morning, your judging, where the diehards would go along, like myself, and watch everything.
Yeah, generally the pre-judging, there was hardly anyone there.
No, you'd have 20 people. It was maybe the
friends of the competitors, and that was it.
And your judges, and that's it. Yeah. And me, you know, watching. And then at night you would come back for the spectacle, for the presentations, the pose downs, where the people's personality used to come out, and they were packed. They were packed in those days.
Yeah, I can remember my first show, I just went to the night show, and I went to a few night shows, and it wasn't until I started talking, you know, I'm going, well, how do they just judge them doing their routine? And they go, no, there's a pre-judging during the day. And they really? So then I started doing the same. I started going to the pre-judging to see what the judging was all about.
Yeah.
Oh, but the night shows they were an event, weren't they?
Yes.
Everyone got dressed up.
Yes.
And the competitors only came back and did the routine. Mm-hmm. And that was it. So as a spectator, you were just judging on the routine because there was no comparisons or anything.
Yeah. The only chance.
Sometimes you'd sit there all baffled, going, "Well, how did that person win?"
Yeah, exactly. And you know, And because at the prejudging they might have gone, yep, I'm all judge, go home, have a feed,
That's
come
right.
back with a couple of blokes would come back with that big belly, and then they win, and you think, hey,
That's
but
right.
you didn't see him this morning. He looked
Exactly right.
fantastic. The only time you really got them to see them together was in the pose down.
Pose down, yes.
Which was part of your judging as well, though.
That's right.
And then, if they made the overall, then they actually did some poses.
Yeah.
So,
That's right.
but it was entertainment plus.
Yeah.
Those pose downs were very spirited at the time too.
Yeah.
You know, so you really got behind people, and you go to shows then because you wanted to see those characters. You wanted to see. Mike Buda go up against Mark Tawatha. You know, you wanted to go see Irene Nicole against Lily Caridi.
Yeah.
You know, they were. You didn't go because you knew someone was competing. Because chances are you didn't know anyone was competing.
No, and that's the thing. And that's what I think has sort of ruined bodybuilding these days is social media.
Yes.
Because the competitors plaster their faces and their physiques all over social media leading up to the show. So on the day of the show, there's no surprise.
No.
And it's the same with pro bodybuilding. Remember when the guest posers used to come?
Oh, yes.
We used to go see the guest posers because to see them in the flesh rather than just in pictures in magazines was incredible. But now, even they are all over social media. So there's no shock factor.
No, that's right.
Whereas it was a shock factor. Can you remember when they worked on stage and we would go, oh my God, have a look at this monster.
Some of them were, you know, you're just gone to, you know, Mr. South Australia and say, you know, Mike Buda had just won.
Yeah.
And then out walks...
Robert Kulinic.
Yeah, or...
and your jaw drops.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking, you know, some of those guest poses we've seen over the years, you know, of those Olympia competitors, you know, you'd go, we're not even in the same
That's right.
ballpark here.
Yeah.
You know, they look like they're from the kindergarten and these guys are from the high school. You
That's
know,
right.
there was just chalk and cheese, the difference between them. And it was jaw-dropping seeing someone like that.
Yeah, whereas now it's just, you're just used to it. So
Yes,
it's like, oh, well, there's another muscular physique. Well,
Yeah.
And you keep scrolling, there's another one.
Saturated.
But we would, I can remember, you would go to the show for those reasons. You'd go see, has Mike Buda improved this year to take out the title? And what sort of routine is Tawatha going to put on?
I know. Mark was a brilliant poser. He was, you know, a pleasure to watch.
That's right. Pity he could never get that physique dialed
Never
in.
quite got that condition, but if he could have, I think he would have been unstoppable because the potential he had was amazing.
So you're still 18?
Yes.
Still 18 when you went and saw your competition?
84, no, I would have been 20 by then.
Oh, so you
20 by then.
And, all right, so when did you make it up on stage?
I initially wanted to compete in 1987, probably the same show as you wanted to do. And
So did I actually beat you to the stage?
Yes, you did.
Oh.
You did. I was preparing, mind you, I was aiming to compete in the Adelaide Physique Classic in 1987.
Which is the one I did.
Yeah. And I worked for a GP in the city at the time, and he received a membership, a week's trial membership at Nautilus. Remember where Toys R Us?
Yes.
Yeah, Nautilus was up there.
Yeah.
But of course, he had no intentions of using it, and he asked if I could use it. So I did. And I went to this gym, you know, rocked up, you know, and they're showing me around. Yep. And they said, oh, have you had any experience in the gym? And I said, yes. In fact, I'm getting ready to compete in a show. And they go, oh, one of our instructors is going to compete. Oh, here she comes now. And Kim Knott walks past. And I just went, well, there's the winner. Okay. My ass just hit the ground. I thought, I look nothing like that.
Yep.
No one looks like that, though.
That's right.
And I did not build up the courage to try again for another 2 years.
Oh, so she intimidated you off the stage.
Oh, in the change rooms at a gym.
Rooms, yeah.
Yeah. She was just... What I saw walking towards me was calves, hamstrings and glutes, shoulders, everything.
Yeah.
And she was ripped then as she is still now. Yeah. I don't think she's ever changed.
Did you see her on Ninja Warrior?
No,
She
no, I
was on
didn't.
the last Ninja
Oh,
Boy a
was
couple of
she?
weeks ago.
She
Yeah.
is incredible.
And she still looked really good.
She is amazing, and such a beautiful person too. You know,
Yeah.
she didn't mean to intimidate me. I just psyched myself out, you know. But I knew that then I wasn't ready, because really back then, in your mind, you really needed a foundation before you got on stage. You know, I did expect to train for 5 years before I'd ever make enough muscle
Yeah.
to get on stage. And seeing Kim made me realise that my muscle wasn't ready yet.
Yeah.
And so, and that's a good thing, you know, because I didn't want to go up and not be ready. And she competed, won that show, went to the Nationals, won that. She went to the Universe, all within that first season.
Yeah.
So she was a quality competitor.
That's
so,
right.
you know,
I
was
can
not
remember
in that
when
league.
Kim debuted, and that was most probably that show
Yes.
which I did.
Yeah.
And that was, it was like the guys. It was jaw dropping when she came, and it was silence.
Yes.
Like
There hadn't been anyone like
because
her.
nobody knew how to respond.
Yeah.
And it took a little while, and all of a sudden the applause started.
Yeah.
And it just went crazy.
Because no other girl had looked like her.
Yeah.
I looked like what the other girls were competing at. She actually looked completely different. You know, she had muscle density, she had roundness, fullness, you know. She obviously was just packed with muscle, whereas a lot of the women were more stringy back then. You had that more athletic look, you know, they were toned, and she was muscle.
Yeah.
And, you know, just absolutely incredible. So she did, she had that impact of, wow.
That's right.
So I'm glad I saw it in the change rooms rather than standing next to her back step on
So you
stage.
waited another 2 years
Another
till
2 years.
89?
Yes.
And then you competed?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And even then, I come up against someone who was also Leanne Campion.
Yes.
Big, huge, broad shoulders, big rounded delts. She was tall, big quads, you know. And I remember walking backstage. Yeah, you're nervous to start with. Anyhow, this is pretty intimidating. And seeing her standing there in her yellow bikini, all tanned, ready to go, pumped up, and I just turned and walked away. I went, I can't do this. And Lily Caridi was helping me.
Yeah.
Because I found her because I knew if I was going to do it, I had to do it properly and know how to pose. And so going to all of those shows over the years, I thought, who is the best person to teach me that? And I sought her out. And again, before Facebook, how did you find someone then? You had to stalk.
Yeah.
You know, you couldn't, you had to go on your white pages, you know, your phone book, you know, you had to ask around what gym did they, you know. I eventually found her. She did have her own studio, so I found her that way. But, and she went, don't be silly, you know, out you go, you've got every reason to, you've worked hard, you're out there, you know. But I knew that I was again outclassed, out of my league, and I came dead last in that comp. There were 7 of us, and I came dead last, but I had the most amazing time.
Yeah. So, 89?
89.
When did you win your first show?
Took me 5 years.
5 years.
5 years to win my first show. I did the Adelaide in 89.
Took me 20 years to win my first show.
Did it? Oh, there you go. But I competed a lot more than you. I was a bit more prolific.
Yeah.
So I competed in the Adelaide, and then I enjoyed it so much I did the SA that year. And I came third.
So which year was it?
89.
89, yeah.
So I came third. So it's the first time I actually got a trophy.
Yeah.
And but it spurred me on to keep trying and keep trying. And sadly, when I finally did win my first show, I was actually announced second. So I never actually got to have that experience on stage.
Oh, really? What happened there?
Wow, that's a story
So
in
on
itself.
the night you were announced second.
Yes. And that was probably the show where I had that was the first time my family had come.
Yeah.
My mum and dad, my nana and papa, my nana and uncle from Wollonga came down. I had friends coming from Port Lincoln and Whyalla and Broken Hill. I had the biggest cheer squad I've ever had there, and I knew I was in the condition, you know, I was ready, and I knew I was the winner, and I was announced second, and I was devastated, you know, and all my family's going, what? And I worked at the time for GMV.
Yeah.
And before that, though, I must admit, I had a couple of judges actually come up to me after. I've never gone up to a judging table before and asked for feedback. You know, if you don't win, it's probably because there's someone better than you.
That's
so
right.
that's it. You know, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, just need to work harder and try again.
Yes, yeah. And I had a couple of judges come up and went, oh, you know, that must have been really close because we had you first.
Yeah.
I went, oh, yeah, okay, thank you for that feedback, you know, that's excellent. And I worked for GMV, and we used to, you know, accumulate all the information for the videos,
Yep.
so that the spelling was right and everything.
Yep.
And we used to have the judging sheets, so that when we did and there was the judging sheets, and the judges that had told me that they had, there's someone at the door. Okay. Yeah, so the judges' sheets, and the judges that had rang me and told me they had first on these judging sheets that had been second. So I thought, that's a bit strange. So I mentioned it to Wayne and Tina, and then we sort of asked, I actually rang those judges and I said, did you actually have me first, or, you know? And it turns out that, so there was some discrepancy with the tabulation, and once it was worked out, they realised that I was the winner and the other girl had come second. And so the solution, Saba's solution to that was to take us both to the nationals and to not tell the other girl that she actually came second. And meanwhile, for me, it was just too much, you know, and so my condition deteriorated by the time I got to the nationals, because it was it was frustrating, you know, and disappointing, and I actually got that trophy on stage at the SA, you know, in my clothes, with no one there. So, you know, that was devastating. So by the time I finally actually won and got announced as the winner, was the 1993 Whyalla Outback Classic, and I just burst into tears.
I was at that show.
And they asked me to come and speak on the microphone, and all I could get out was, thanks, Graham. It was so emotional. I really...
So that was 10, 11 years after you set foot in the gym.
Yeah, so it was a really big deal for me to finally achieve that goal. I don't think I'd realised how determined I was, you know. And it was a wonderful feeling. I knew it would be good.
And after that, the floodgates opened, didn't they? Because all I can remember is you winning.
Or
did you?
No, not necessarily.
But you were on stage so often.
I was on stage a lot because I loved being on stage. I loved the whole, the organise, like your life is so disciplined, I suppose. You know, I like the order, the structure. You know, so comp time, I found that easy because it was just what you did. And I had to have a goal.
I enjoyed the preparation as well. Every time I competed, I enjoyed the lead up to the show. I enjoyed how your body changed. And how, once you learnt about nutrition, how making little changes could make massive changes in your physique, either good or bad. And seeing that all that hard work then come to an end. And to me, it didn't really matter if I didn't win or not, as long as I slowly got better and better and better. But then you obviously wanted to win. And you wanted to place. Obviously, top 3 was a target for me, and to win was the ultimate. but it took me a long time. It took me a lot longer than you.
Yeah. And I was fairly prolific. But you've got to remember back then too that you didn't have the amount of shows to compete in either.
No.
So you had one show in season A. Well, it wasn't even called season A. Then it was just called the Adelaide. Yeah. And then you had the SA.
Yeah.
And then IFBB used to run a show a few times,
Yeah, that's right.
In September as well.
Yeah.
And that was it. And so the only time you got multiple shows was if you actually went to the next level, which was the nationals. So, so you couldn't do 3 shows in a row or 4 shows in a row. If you wanted to do 2 shows in a row, that was 2 preps.
Yeah.
And
or it was either the SA and the nationals.
Yes. But I think back then too, being prolific as I was, I still had like a normal life outside of the competing. So you'd compete in March, April, and then you'd have normal life for a month or 2. Yes, I was. Got married in 1984.
Yeah, to Graham?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, just quickly, your husband, was he into weight training?
No.
No? Just like your husband now isn't into weight training?
No.
Yep. So
no one close to me
you were able to keep that separation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I did. I still enjoyed my life. I still did things, and I would go out socially, enjoy myself. And then when it came time, 8 weeks before a comp, that's it. You'd put that focus into getting ready.
And you've had partners who were always supportive of that.
Correct. Yes.
Which is good.
Yeah. Very supportive. Graham's very, very supportive.
Yeah.
You know, he's the one that's always encourages me and keeps me going too. When you are feeling that little bit flat, he'll always know the right thing to say. Yeah. Which generally is the girl that's going to beat you. She would have done her cardio. That's right. And I'll go, get on the damn bike. Yeah.
All right. So, did you start competing on the national level straight away, or
no? It took me a while.
So you did this Whyalla show. And that's a regional show, so it wasn't a big show. No, it only ran for a couple of years.
When Karen Brooksby was running it.
Yeah.
No, my first national show was actually in 1991. So that show technically was probably the first one I'd won as well, but it wasn't. It was a tie between me and Anna Lee, and she won on a countback.
Okay.
Geez, I've had a hard run. So they picked Anna to go to the nationals, because that was back in the day where they actually picked a team.
That's right.
And if you were picked, they would pay for you to go, give you accommodation, all of that, and you shared the room with the other competitors and things. So, and Anna didn't want to go, so they offered it to me. So I went and I shared a room with. Well, I was supposed to share a room with the physique girl that went as well. And but ended up, and the boys were all, and then there was about 3 or 4 boys went, and they so you went as travelled as a team. So that was and Nick Jones he won the teenage, so I think that was one of his first shows, and he went to the nationals as well, and that was at Perth, and that was held at the casino there, and it was amazing. You know, like it was like a proper show. You know, like backstage, you know, lights around the mirrors and lots of space, and you know, being at the Don Pulsey Centre, we didn't have any of that sort of stuff. You know, so it was all glamour and glitz, and WA was, you know, very good at organising shows. So it was like luxury. There was weights backstage and everything.
Yeah.
And so that's what I thought all nationals were like. No, I was wrong. But I had the most amazing time on the nationals, and I came second to last in that lineup. And there was about 14 of us girls. I think I came about 13th. But that was the bug, was like, I want to win one of these. Yeah. I really want to do it. And then I went to the nationals in Melbourne, and it was divey. Not at all like Perth, and it was like, that's when I realised that's the norm. Perth is not the norm.
That's right.
Yeah. And but that was my goal then, was to win at a nationals.
Yeah.
And that took me 20 years.
Okay. So when did your first national victory come?
2010.
Yeah.
So literally 10 seasons.
Yeah.
20 seasons after that. So
Yeah.
I competed right up into
And that was with?
NABA.
NABA?
Yeah. Or WFF then.
By
obviously.
then, they were having more divisions and everything.
Yes.
Now. Bodybuilding
Yes.
had progressed to, there was figure and weight classes
Yes,
and everything.
yeah. So back in the day when I first competed, it was just women.
Yeah.
Then in the second show I competed in, it was the first women's figure.
Yeah, so they separated figure and physique,
Yeah.
which was bodybuilding,
Yes,
basically.
yes.
So Kim Knott would have been in bodybuilding, wouldn't
Yes,
she?
yes, she would.
And she continued
Yeah.
to dominate that
Yes,
for a long time.
yeah. And you had figure, and really the only difference with figure then was you posed with open hands.
Yeah.
So the girls did fists, figure opened their hands. We didn't even wear shoes. We did this. Then that was 89. Then in about 90, they decided to change the poses and they made it was more subjective. One arm up, one arm down.
Yeah.
And you could do any variation of that. And then the shoes came in. And I actually then went back to bodybuilding because I thought, what is this? You know, one arm up, one arm down. That's, you know, that's a bit odd. But then they sorted it out and worked out, you know, figure still needs to be muscular. And so then that's where I belonged because by this stage girls were getting far bigger than I was.
Yeah.
Even though I had always wanted to be big, I never really got big.
Yeah.
And I still think probably my nutrition wasn't brilliant. You know, I didn't. Yes, I knew what to do for competitions, but I didn't know about that growing, you know, in between and, you know, so.
Yeah. You always had one of those physiques where if you met you in person, you go, you weight train?
Yeah, I know.
But then when you're on stage, it's like, oh my God, where's all that come from?
I know. It's just incredibly frustrating. You know, if I look like a bodybuilder off season or off stage, I probably would never compete because it's bloody hard work.
That's right, yeah.
That was always my goal, just for people to be able to go, oh wow, you train. Never happened.
Yeah.
You know, Or you'd walk off stage and people go, oh, you're only tiny.
Yeah.
And short.
That's right.
Yeah. So, you know, 20 years it took to get that. I also, leading on to that though, before I actually went as a spectator, because I used to go to shows a lot, I didn't miss a Sabbath show. I actually went to, before I'd ever been to a national show, I actually went to a Worlds. The NABA had a Worlds in Geelong, and I thought, I have to go see this. And that's where I went, and that was a 2-day event, and I went, that's what I want to do. I want to compete where other people can't speak English, you know, people I've never seen before. This is amazing, look at the standard. And that was my goal too, was then to get to an international level. And the closest I got to that was in 2000, because I competed from 1989 right up to 2000, pretty much every, you know, not twice a year, but sometimes twice a year, sometimes once a year, but pretty much every year. And in the year 2000, I wanted to qualify, because you had to qualify then.
Yeah.
You couldn't just go, I place in the top 5 and I'm going.
That's right.
You had to qualify.
And that usually meant winning, didn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
I wanted to go to the NABA Worlds, which was in New Zealand. And so I had to place top 3 in the Australia.
The nationals, yeah.
And unfortunately, I came 4th.
Yeah.
And the 3 girls that beat me was Loretta McMillan, who went on to win the Worlds and the Universe, Terry Roberts, who is a NABA legend.
That's right.
And another lady called Paula, I think her name was, who was a previous IFBB competitor and had come to Pauline Newman. That's it. That's her name. And I came 4th. And so that was devastating. I couldn't go to New Zealand, so I never got that chance to be at the international shows. Those 3 women came 1st, 2nd and 3rd at the Worlds. So that's how good they were.
Yes.
That's how good they were. And after that, I sort of...
So your fourth place wasn't too bad then?
Oh, my fourth place was pretty credible.
Yeah.
Yeah. But,
behind the top 3 in the world.
Top 3 in the world. So...
Did they place in the same order at the Worlds?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, they did. And so that sort of disheartened me a bit. And I think by then I'd had my son and you know, life catches up with you and you know, things. And I didn't actually compete for a long time after that. The only time I competed was in 2003 or 4. Lorraine Saba had stopped running one of the shows, and Lorraine March, who was my training partner, and her husband decided to run the show, to resurrect that show and run it so people still had a chance. And they wanted to introduce this bikini division, which was called Miss Glamour, which is the beginning of bikini fitness.
Yeah.
And what they wanted to aim it to was off-season figure competitors.
Yeah.
So that people could see that these girls look like this on stage, but this is what they look like, you know, they look pretty good all the time. And so 2 weeks out from that, she asked me to compete. And I went, you know, why not? So I'm one of the first ever bikini competitors in that, and I won that. We didn't strike poses. We did do a posing routine because you had a talent portion, I suppose. So I just did a posing routine. You had to speak, and so you actually had to come up and talk. And I think that's why I won, because I can just talk the hind leg off a dog. So, but it was about confidence and all of that sort of thing. And so I did that. And then I didn't compete again, didn't feel the urge until Shannon Stevens rang me to ask if I would judge at Saba show, which is now called NABA SA, and I wasn't able to for some reason. And then she said, you know, we got chatting and reminiscing, because she competed around the late 80s as well, or the late 90s, somewhere around there. I'm losing track of decades. And we were reminiscing, and I said, next year will be 20 years since my first competition. She goes, that's as good as an excuse as any to come back, isn't it? And I went, oh, yes, it is. So, so that 2009, I went, you know what, I'm going to do this again. Yeah. And got back serious into. I was still training, but not, you know, because I hadn't. I still trained because I love training, but not with that same intensity as when you've got a goal. Got a goal. Yeah. And so I did. I thought, right, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do the NABA SA, and that's the first time I ever competed in WFF. They had the new. No, I didn't compete in WFF because I was going to do the WFF over 40s, and there was no other competitors. And I said, I don't want to compete with no other competitors. Put me in the other division where there's other people. So I
wish people would do that.
I know, they don't. So I went in the NABA over 35s, and where there was other people. So and I won, and which blew me away. And then I came out for the overall, and I won the overall. And I went, that's pretty cool. And
your
then
first overall title?
That was my. Well, we didn't have overalls then because there was only women.
That's right.
You just had women, so I'd never been in an overall before. And then you approached me and said, "Would you do my IMBA show?" Yours IMBA show was a week later, and now ICN, of course. Yeah. And I went, okay. Yeah, and that was it. It just.
And you won that one.
I did.
Yeah.
I was gobsmacked at that. Absolutely, I had lots more competition there as well, and it was funny. I remember we walked in, in the morning, and you had those swords on the stage, and Graham goes, "Get me one of those." Yeah. I went, "I don't think so," and but I won the Open, and then once I won the Open, which just blew me away. That was it. I knew I was in for a chance. And And one of my proudest moments is that I've actually got 3 of those swords. I've won 5 overalls in ICN or IMBA.
You won that many,
5, yes.
Yeah. You were pretty dominant, I can remember, for a while.
So and I'm proud of that.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
Yeah, those swords look pretty cool too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now with political correctness and terrorism, swords,
Yeah.
you can't award swords, even though some federations are sort of doing them.
Yeah.
But it's even hard to buy them now.
Yeah.
Or we used to import them, but you can't import them now.
Oh.
Like, what are you going to kill someone with
Yeah,
swords?
it's blunt.
Yeah. Yeah, and we had, I can remember at the Norwood Town Hall where I've run my shows, the venue management was worried that someone's going to get injured by the sword.
Goodness. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They weren't sharp.
No, they weren't. They're not.
No.
They're not sharp. They're
That's
not
right.
sharp, and they're just like an aluminium type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've travelled overseas? Did you?
Yes.
You got your overseas comp?
I finally got to go to my international show.
Was that with this overall wins that same year?
No. It took me a long time again.
Yeah.
I didn't get to go until 2011. So.
Oh, it's as recent as that, is it?
Yes.
Okay.
So it took 2009 reignited my passion for everything. I did 2010. I did 2010 season A, 2010 season B. That's when I won my first nationals.
Yeah.
So I won my division at the Southern Hemisphere, and then I backed it up at the Australia in September. I didn't win the overalls though, so.
Yeah.
But I was more than happy to, and again, at the Southerns, just burst into tears.
Yeah.
It's so emotional. When you see it on the DVD, I go, oh God, I'm a wreck. But that's how much it meant to me, and that's when you try for something for so long. That's why it does, make that impact. So then it was like, I can really do this. I can go to the nationals, so to the universe. That was always my goal. I wanted to go to the NABBA universe. But that was way out of my league by that stage. So they have a WFF universe, and that's what I'm going to aim for. So I did that. I competed in 2011, and I won the SABA show, or NABBA SA. I won the IMBA show, and then I went to the Southerns. I got second that year, and then I was off to the WFF universe. And
that was, where was that?
Austria, Baden.
Yeah.
So, and that was a most amazing experience. It was a journey and a half to get there because there was a volcano erupted in Bali or somewhere, and so the flights were grounded here in Adelaide, and so I ended up having to catch a bus to Melbourne, and then catching the flight from Melbourne to Singapore, and then Singapore to thing. So in the end, it took me like about 36 hours of travel. Yeah. And a lot of sitting down, and my bum was so sore because there wasn't a lot of meat left by that stage. Yeah. But I met with other competitors in Singapore. We seemed to have a few of us, and then it was just the competitors. No one actually came with anyone else because it's so expensive to travel that way, and we all were staying in the same hotel, so you actually had that team spirit, which was amazing. And we all went to registration together. We wore our tracksuits. Just wearing those tracksuits that say Australia on was just, you're so proud of that. I've still got my jacket up there, and it's so outdated. It was outdated in 2010 because they were, I think, were made in the 80s by Black and Blue, and so dated. But, you wore it with pride, and you went to registration, and then the day before, and you saw all of these other competitors, and then you were prepared for the day, and it was just incredible. You walked backstage, they had hundreds of people there, and barely anyone speaking English, and you had teams, the Italian team were all coordinated beautifully, they all stuck together. You had the Germans, they were, but everyone was so helpful. And even though you couldn't speak the same language as them, everyone knew you were roughly there for the same thing. They all helped out. I saw some sites there that I'd never seen before in my life there, and running around with rollers. That's when they were doing hands with rollers. I've never seen that before, and they're touching everyone up and running around, and I'm going, I need some scissors. So people, knew what I was doing. A little international symbol for scissors, things like that. When I finally got the chance to walk out on stage, my heart was pounding, and I walked out and I went, this is where I belong. I've waited all this time. This is where I belong. It was one of the proudest moments.
You were telling me once before that it was a massive day, wasn't it?
It's massive day.
Massive day. It went into the early hours of the morning.
It did. You had classification in the morning, which was where all of the competitors came. You come out, all of the women will come out together and all the men come out together. All the women, and then the founder of WFF, Klaus Hoffmann, would sit there and he would go, bring out these numbers, and then he'd go, your fitness. And you'd go off.
So you didn't enter a division in that show?
No.
You just entered the show.
Yes.
And then you were given a division.
You were given a division. That's right. And that was not a bad thing, because you ended up with people that were together, like with like.
So he would look at all the physiques and put all the similar physiques together.
Correct, yes.
You were in this division, you were in that division. And
there was 5 different divisions.
Yeah.
So, and it was easy that he would start with like the fitness division, which was the lighter girls, the more, and so they were easy to pick out, gone. Then he'd go with the extreme bodies. Well, they're very easy to pick out. And so, and then you'd go inwards. So I ended up in the performance category, which is where I thought I would be.
Yeah.
The middle one was athletic, which is what our figure girls are now.
Yeah.
So I was sort of, in between the figure and the fitness, and I fitted in performance perfectly. I was in the lineup with a lady called Karina, who was a WFF legend. She had won everything. She had, and I'd been watching her, over the years. She was one of those people you aspire to. And I was in the lineup next to her, so I was thrilled, and then I beat her. So that was even better still. So I placed 3rd. I heard Janelle McLean, Australia, and it was just...
Burst into tears?
No, I didn't burst into tears, but, I was like, because, they kept 6th place, 4th, 5th place, and I'm thinking, wow, and you're getting more and more hopeful, and then, 3rd place, Janelle McLean, Australia, and I just shone, it was just the best thing. But you didn't get that trophy till about 1 a.m.
Oh, right.
So we'd been there from, I think it was 10 o'clock in the morning, classification, and then you came back at about 2, I think, and the division started.
Yeah.
And you went and you did your division, and then you went back, and they didn't do the presentations till the end of the show.
Yeah.
So, and you stayed because you were there with your team.
Yeah.
You were helping each other.
That's right.
There was people competing throughout the day. Yeah. So you stayed.
Yeah.
And it was exhausting. It's just sitting in that costume for that long. Why I didn't think to undo it.
Yeah.
But it was amazing. And by the time we finished though, in Baden, which is a tiny little town, nothing was open.
Yeah.
We're all starving, and you just went back to the hotel and went to bed.
Yeah.
But it was the starving. And as soon as breakfast opened that morning, every bodybuilder was in there.
Yeah.
It was incredible. But it was the most amazing experience, and I'm so glad that I got to experience that.
That was the only time you went?
No, I went the following year. Following year, the universe normally goes around the world. It was in Baden
again
for the 2nd time.
Yeah.
So that time I also had dilemmas with travelling. They lost my bags.
Yeah.
So, I ended up with no bag for a couple of days, but it's all part of the experience, and it wasn't as good as the first time. I'm glad I got the first time, because the second time, they didn't have that same team spirit, and, people didn't stay at the same together.
How'd you go the second time?
I got 5th.
Okay.
And I was in performance again.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I still loved the actual, whole thing, but it just wasn't as good as the previous year.
Yeah.
So the previous year was,
I think the previous year was the first time, so that'll always be the good one.
Yes,
regardless.
yeah. And I think because you had that gel there, everyone did stick together, and so it was good.
Yeah, yeah. Things have changed nowadays. They don't travel as a team because people want to bring their wives, their girlfriends, their families, so they stay with their friends, and the competitions are so big that one person will be competing at 10 a.m. and the next one might be at 6 p.m. It's it's totally different. But
it is. But you really need to experience that traveling as a team or being part of a team, but traveling to an international show where you're different to everyone else. You know, like Europeans and that, they don't travel over to here, so you have to actually go all that way to there, and to see the way other teams gel together and support each other, and it just really was, an amazing experience. You know, and heartwarming too, because people took it very seriously, but they were still very considerate of others and made sure you were right. And it was reasonably well run, but just very, very long. Very, very long.
Most memorable win?
I think winning that overall when I come back, and winning the sword in Imber, because I certainly never expected that. And finally winning my first show, you can't take the gloss off of that. There's plenty of times where I've never expected that I would win. Yeah. And it just comes as that surprise that, I mean, in your heart you believe you can win, but the reality is sometimes not the same as what you tell yourself. Winning the Southerns probably was another one where, I finally made it. And
that was they're always a big show, the Southerns.
It's
a national level show.
Yes, it is. So because that's a qualifier for, the Worlds.
That's right.
So I'd say the '93 Whaler, the 2009 Imber SA, or even the 2009 NABBA overall win. They were all ones where just floored me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Then you had a setback.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I did.
So you got crook.
Yes, I did.
With breast cancer.
Yes.
When did that happen?
During my prep for the 2013 season, I was doing the Imber show. I was getting ready for that, and I've had a history of breast lumps, but I've always been very proactive about getting them checked, and I'd been seeing my surgeon for 20 odd years, longer. And but once I started leaning up, this lump that I had, which had been tested earlier in the year, was starting to get more prominent. I just thought it was because I was getting leaner and less body fat, and so I just disregarded it, that's what it was. And then after the comp, which I won, just thought I'd put that out there, the 5th overall. And I came second in Australia that year. I competed with the NABBA, the WFF in Newcastle, and got second in Australia there. And when I get back to normal size, I could still see this lump, and I went, that's not right. So I went back to the surgeon, and I said, I think it's grown. And he said, oh yeah, I don't like things that change. He said, I know we tested it earlier in the year, so I'm going to remove it because I don't like it when things change. Yeah. So I had the surgery, the lump removed, and fully expected to go back, and him to say, yeah, that's healing well, you can go back to the gym. He said, I'm sorry, you've got cancer. And I was knocked for a 6. Not for a 6. I was there on my own. It was Valentine's Day. And I didn't expect to hear that. Yeah. And, from what happened there, then he said, we just took because we didn't expect it to be bad. We just took the lump. Now you have to go for a lumpectomy. Yeah. And then after that, it was like, no, we can't really guarantee we've got everything. You have to have a mastectomy. Then it was like, no, we want you to have chemo. Then through chemo, they said, we want you to have radiation. So I went, the whole gamut, and it was devastating. Because I actually was preparing, this is 2014, I was actually preparing to do, I was going to turn 50, and I was going to do my 50th show. Yeah. And that was going to be a big deal for me. And that was all just gone in an instant, But, that's when you realise there are more important things. Yeah. Not that, the competing has ever been my be all and end all. It's just an adjunct to what I do. It's something I love doing. But, my rest of my life is just as important. And so that was that. And it was really hard to accept that, you know, that was taken away from me, those goals, you know. So but it was a tougher workout than I'd ever done, you know, or tougher prep.
Yeah.
You know, it was not good. It wasn't pleasant. But, you know, fortunately, I think the gym helped me with that process as well, because once I got the clearance from having the mastectomy to go to the gym, I was back at the gym even though I was doing chemo.
Yeah.
So that kept me sane, I think, and it kept you socially out there as well, because, you know, going through treatment's very isolating as well. So, you know, and people don't really know how to talk to you or what to say, and
That's right.
and you know, really it's just, I'm just me, you know, and and I just wanted someone to talk to me and not sympathise for me, just treat me as normal. So it was around that time at the gym where you were doing some strength challenges as well. So I actually participated in those, even though I was going through treatment. I actually won one.
That's
so
right.
you know, and that was because that one was holding the dumbbells out to the side. And I remember standing there and I'm thinking, if I can do chemo, I can do anything.
Yeah.
Because chemo's shit. And I did. I held it the longest. So, but I think the foundation of what I'd done all of those years.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you think bodybuilding and weight training
absolutely
gave you like a different mindset, maybe to overcome?
Absolutely. When I had my first chemo dose, I was terrified, and I'd worked myself up. I was all anxious and you know, emotional and everything, and so they got someone to come and talk to me and calm down, and you know, they asked me what was worrying me and things, and then they said, gee, you must have been really fit and healthy before this. And I said, I still am. It's what you're going to do to me is making me unhealthy.
That's right.
And they went, yeah. But, you know...
yeah.
But, you know, like, I had to have my heart tested to see that I could cope. And I had a very functional heart, above average, you know. And I think that was the years of doing cardio and weight training that gave me that.
That's right.
I've also... You know, you're used to adversity, or you're used to pain, or you're making things difficult for yourself. You know, you could do an exercise and it would be hard, but you'd make it harder.
That's right.
So I was used to dealing with things that were hard for me and how to get through it. And when I actually said, you know, I'm going to go train, my oncologist actually said that's the best thing you can do. He said the only scientifically proven thing to help with recovery is exercise.
Yeah.
He said, I wish more people were like you. I wish more people had your attitude. He said, I'd love you to come and speak to people that are just accepting it and going, woe is me. He said, He said, I wish everyone had your attitude. And that is definitely what kept me going through it. So,
well, it's a fact that attitude in any illness, it makes a huge difference in your recovery.
Yeah.
Well, my father just had recently a double bypass at 90 years old.
Wow.
And 5 days later, he was out of the hospital.
Yeah, incredible.
And there was people 20 years younger than him who the doctor said they're not going home for a long time yet.
Yeah.
But his attitude, soon as he had a mild heart attack, and the doctor said, you've got 2 really bad blocked arteries. They need to be fixed, otherwise you're going to possibly die. And we can only keep you going on medication for so long. And he says straight away, fix it.
Yeah.
I want it
exactly.
fixed. I want it fixed.
Yep.
And he told me, I'm not ready yet. I want to keep going.
Yeah.
And, you know, the next day after surgery, he was there he was sitting in a chair eating his food. Yeah. I couldn't believe it. Yeah. So the attitude makes such a huge difference. Whereas I know someone who got diagnosed with cancer, and they basically came home, sat in a chair and said, well, I've got cancer, I'm going to die. And they died. And the doctor said they shouldn't have died that quick. Yeah. You know, even though the cancer was bad, they didn't fight at all.
No, you have to fight.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you went through all that?
Yep.
And you came back on stage?
Yes, I did. Because I did that because chemo changed me as well, like physically. Yeah. It actually, you're pumped full of a lot of poison. Yep. And steroids. And so unfortunately the wrong sort of steroids. Because I said that, can I go to the gym now? And, he said, yeah, go your hardest, but of course I was so weak. But so you bloat, and you grow. And I didn't like what that had done to me. All my life I'd basically...
So just quickly going back,
yeah.
all clear. The clear came.
Yes.
I mean, we should mention that.
Yes, sorry, I'm 4 years clear.
Awesome.
And fantastic. So absolutely amazing, and sometimes I might see a picture or something from then and I go, oh wow, I look so ill, but I didn't feel it, really, and I've come a long way. But it did change me, and I didn't like that. I didn't like what it did to me. I didn't like the shape that I had now been, the extra body fat that was there that I'd never had, you know. And I used to be able to manipulate my weight really easy. Like I said, 8 weeks before a comp, you go, I'm going to do a comp, you know, and you'd just go hard for 8 weeks, and that was it. And nothing I could do would change that. So I thought, well, the only way I know to do it is a comp prep. And so I did.
What year was this?
2015.
2015.
So exactly 12 months after my treatment.
Yeah.
I set a goal for the IMBA SA. And I strived and I worked really, really, really hard, and I really struggled because my body also can't train like it used to either. I think chemo affects not just, everything. Lose your hair, your skin goes crap, your nails fall off, you feel sick. It also affects your ligaments and your tendons and, your muscles. So I was suffering injuries that I never had before, so I sneezed and displaced a rib, so it meant I couldn't, do my side raises. I stubbed my toe and broke it. That things like that, and just that tendonitis type feeling. If I went too heavy, I wouldn't be able to lift my arm for a couple of days. So it took a long time, and so it was hard to train different to how I had previously done. So the only thing I could do was cardio, so I did lots of that and control my dieting. So I managed to change some of the way I had been. Not quite enough for comp, in comp presence, and Graham actually said to me, you wouldn't be happy with yourself. And I said, yeah, but I really want to do this. Because I got to the point, and I think you remember, because you let me keep saying, I'm nearly there, and you said, don't worry, your entry, yep. And I got to the point where I thought, no, I can't do it. And then once I said I couldn't do it, I burst into tears, and I thought, that's how much it means to me. I really, really want to do this, because I wanted to get back what cancer had taken away from me. And I said to Graham, I'm not competing because I want to win. I just want to compete because I want to get back to where I was. And so I did. And I loved it. I had missed that, being on stage, and you let me do my routine, and that was really emotional. I was in tears actually doing that. I don't know if you could see that, but I was in tears actually doing it because it really meant something to me. Yeah. And I'm getting all teary now thinking about it.
I can remember that show. There was a lot of people who were teary.
Yeah. And so I was really pleased that I made it.
Yeah.
But it took me a couple of weeks to put that in perspective, because when I saw the pictures, I went, oh, that's hideous.
Yeah.
Why would you let me get on stage looking like that? And Graham goes, well, I told you so. And he said, I told you wouldn't have been happy. But then when I looked at, this is what I was, this is what I've been through. Yeah. That was hell. And I've got back to here. So that's actually pretty good.
Exactly right.
And so then I took it in but it's still cringeworthy to me when I think about it. I still cringeworthy. But you do have to put it in perspective. But competing isn't a disability show. It's not about where you come from. It's actually about perfection.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then I think I shouldn't have done that, because it wasn't what a competition is about. A competition is about being the best person, or being, overcoming. But then it was something I had to take back, that had been taken away from me. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, yes, I did do a comeback, but it's not something I'd go, yay, look at me. It's the only time I was beaten in Imber. So I ruined my record of saying I was unbeaten, but it was worth it because cancer wasn't going to beat me.
That's right.
That's the main thing.
Awesome. Any more comps?
Well, I've tried a couple of times since, and probably no one knows that because I haven't shared that with because I was determined not to accept what the treatment had made of me. I was determined to be what I was before. And so for season B last year at the ICN, I set my mind and tried and almost got there. Not so great.
Yeah.
I went, no, it's not going to happen. So, but I'm pretty happy with where I ended up. So then after Christmas, I went, I'm going to try again. And this time I got very, very close. And even Graham went, yeah, you could. But I went, no, it's still not quite at the standard that I want myself to be. If I'm going to get back on stage, it has to be, oh, wow, not, oh.
Yeah.
So, because no one will probably know who I am by then. And, so they're not going to know my history. They don't care that I've been through that. No one knows that. No. You've got to present what's on stage there and now. Right. So it has to be good. And, so I'm thinking 55's a good round number. So maybe, this time next year, maybe.
Yeah.
But everything's got to fall into place too. You've got to have that motivation to train and to put other things to the side and get ready. So, yeah. So at the moment, I'm enjoying life. I like training. I plod along in training and I do like my training. I don't train like I used to. I've learnt that I can't train like that. So I do what I can and enjoy it. I still do my cardio because I like doing that as well. And I still eat like a bodybuilder. Yeah. So it's not too much different to what I'm doing, just that with a little bit more purpose.
So you're still training, obviously. I see you at the gym most days.
Yes.
You love training.
I do. Yeah. And I still love feeling strong.
That's right.
Yeah. I still love lifting heavy weights.
And I'm the same. People come up to me all the time, like family, friends, and they, you still train? Why do you still train? And I go, well, why wouldn't I still train? Because I love training. Yeah. And I love the feeling training gives you and you feel good. And I like being strong.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in the end, some of my friends one night said, what motivates you? And I looked at them and I said, you. You motivate me.
Yeah.
And it is true in a way. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be overweight and if a pencil falls on the ground, not being able to pick it up.
Correct, yes.
Yeah, I still want to be functional and I want to keep doing this for as long as I live.
Yeah. I think, especially for women, it should be compulsory because once women hit menopause too, that's an interesting thing. Chemo put me chemically into menopause, so there's a whole different world as well. So that's another thing we have to factor into. Yeah. But women, once they get into menopause, so those women over 50s, they're losing their muscle mass, they're losing their bone density. The only way you can stop that is with resistance training. So get into the gym. I don't want to be that person that gets a couch that lifts up so you can get out of it. I need to be able to push myself up, like you don't want to be dependent on things or other people to help you do those things. So that's the way to do it. Yeah. Exactly. And if that, fortunately it's something I love doing, so I will continue to do it, to maintain that, that muscle mass and the ability to do things. It frightens me that you see people basically wasting away. They're either wasted away or extremely overweight.
That's right.
And that's not helpful because then your body's struggling. So
Yeah, and we see that all the time because you're now a judge for me and you judge also for NABA WFF as well.
Yes.
And you do posing coaching.
Yes.
For the ICN and help anybody.
I will help anyone.
That's right. But we see contestants, they do one show and then they disappear.
Mm.
And like for you and for me, it took 20 years to win a show. For you, it took umpteen years to win a show, and we kept coming back and competing because we loved training and competing.
Yes.
Nowadays, people do one show, and if they don't get it their way, they disappear. And a lot of times, they even stop training.
Yeah.
So the problem is, I think that they're training to compete.
Mm.
You know, they're not training because they love training.
Yeah.
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 Mm.
Your training came first. Competing came later. That was just
That's right.
something to an avenue to show what you've been working towards.
Because I was the same like you. While I wanted to be a big, muscular guy, but I never wanted to compete. That wasn't the goal. I just wanted to be big.
Yeah.
And hopefully the chicks will look at me. You know? Yeah. And the competing was the same. The same was sort of with you, like with me. I just went to a bodybuilding show and I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool to do that.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. The longevity, yeah. I can't ever see myself stopping.
Yeah.
I don't see what would stop me.
That's right. Yeah.
So, yeah, you just... And that is right. Now you see people, they pick a comp and then train for that comp. But there is no love for the training.
Yeah. That's right.
And, you know, oh well, if it gets people into it, maybe they will continue, but yeah, I don't know. I think if you stick with it, it is the fountain of youth, though.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because
Definitely. We're both a testament to that.
Oh, I was just going to say that, you know, we only look like we're 30.
Yeah. No, awesome. I think that's a good note to finish on.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Janelle.
Thank you, Kim. And I actually have to say, thank you so much for all the support you have given me, because you've stood by me in all of those years since 2009, and you've always supported me. You've never asked anything of me, and I think the world of that.
No, I appreciate it. And, well, I've done it because I wanted to do it.
Oh,
So,
thank
yeah.
you. Thank you.
All right, that's it. Thank you very much. That was incredible. I really enjoyed that.
Oh, thank you, Kim.
Yeah.
I did too. I love talking about myself.
Thanks everyone for listening, and that's it. If you enjoy this podcast, how about you leave a review, and keep an eye out for our next interview. We've got another really great South Australian that I'll be chatting to. So we'll catch you guys next time on Australian Muscle Chats 2. See you later.
See ya.